are back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we're focused on Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 1, The Stargazer. And I am so excited to have this discussion. We're kicking off our new time slot for these new Star Trek episode discussions, which is going to be Sundays, moving forward from every Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Moving forward, that's
are
1
you,
p.m.
are you doing
Central.
Discovery on Thursdays?
Yes, so we're gonna
Okay.
Thank you for asking, because we're gonna finish off Discovery. I don't think I sent the link to our friend Robbie. Hang on a second, but he needs it on Twitter. Robbie, Twitter. Okay, so so we're gonna continue doing Discovery until it ends on Thursdays, Fathery. So yep, you can continue to expect those. And we started a new little thing, which to kind of satiate our desire to react right away, we're going to be doing the like a space. Have you ever done one of those, Fathery?
I've been pulled into a couple of space anomalies that appear on Twitter, and somehow I find
like calling them
myself within their orbit.
Yeah, they're pretty fun. I attended my very first one that I ever attended was with Olivia and Patrick Patterson.
Yeah, that's the one I was in.
Oh, you were on that
I
one.
didn't even know
That's
what
right.
the hell was going on.
That's what you were speaking on that one. That's right.
Yeah.
I didn't have my coffee today. I was like wondering what was wrong with me, and then when Father said he didn't have his, I was like, "Oh, let me go make a coffee." I'm joined here tonight. I've already
thanks for
mentioned
getting me
Father.
one.
Yeah, here you go, buddy. Here, I'm just gonna hand it to you.
I tried
Also,
to like beg Antonia to like go get me some coffee from Starbucks or something, and she refuses.
she's like not having it.
Yeah, she's like, no. There's a Starbucks like 2 blocks from us.
Really?
Oh, Starbucks is pretty bad coffee though. You want to go to like a local coffee shop.
Oh,
Yeah, but
I
I'm more
love
concerned with
coffee.
like expedience.
I
Yeah, that's
love
true.
Starbucks, man. I'm sorry.
The drive-through is convenient too. You
Yeah,
don't have to get out.
I'm a Starbucks fiend. So
Or
Well,
Dunkin', you can go
fine.
to Dunkin'.
I guess we
Antonia.
all are to some degree.
Yeah, I guess I
She's
just
not
have to
gonna-
have a caffeine headache. But
she's not gonna.
Anyways, while we wait for Robbie to get here, I'm gonna just say that we're doing a slightly different format on Starfleet Boy. Actual here. We're gonna be doing a little tiny, not as cool a slide presentation as what Text Trek does, but I'm gonna take a page from your note, or book from your book. I can't talk. A page from your book, Father, and I'm gonna be doing a little written thing that I did, like a episode summary, but divided across the discussion, as well as a little slideshow presentation, just a few slides here and there. So here, look, I'll give you guys a preview of what it looks like. So let's see, does this work?
all right.
Oh yeah,
we'll,
here we
we'll
go.
see how many weeks he keeps this up before he's like,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
have
not.
time.
Believe me, when you see like how many slides do you have on average on yours?
Typically around 150, between 150 and 200.
Yeah, I think this is like one of 26, so it's like a way different, a way different thing than that. While we also wait for Robbie, let's go see what's going on in the chat here. We got quite a few folks. We got Cake is Eternal. Hello, my little Magellan, which is Jill. I'm obsessed with this episode. So am I. I've seen it embarrassingly a lot of times. Like, I probably haven't watched something this many times since I was a little kid. Or maybe a teenager, I don't know, but I've watched it. I think now I'm at like 8 viewings of this episode. So at the very least, I know what order everything's going in, not like my usual discussions where I'm like, did it happen here? Or did it happen there? Like, I kind of have a better sense of like what's going on in the episode than I normally do when I watch these. How many times have you guys watched it, Father and Marcelo?
That's an interesting question. I watched it like half of it on my phone, then the whole thing in the theater on the cruise when I couldn't really pay attention to it. Then I watched like the other half on my phone. Then I watched it on my phone again on the flight back from Florida late last night. And then I watched the first half of it on my TV at home last night. And then I got tired and went to sleep. So if you add all that up, it's 1, 2, 3, 3.5 times, I guess.
That's crazy. In the middle of my watchings, I did watch something else just to kind of break up all the Picardness. which was West Side Story. I finally got around to watching West Side Story, the Steven
Oh, thank
Spielberg
God.
one. Marcel, how many times have you watched this episode of Star Trek Picard? Just and out of curiosity in the audience, who's watched it more than 3 times already?
I've watched it. I've watched it twice.
To be fair, I normally watch every new episode of Star Trek
3
3
times.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've watched it twice. I've watched it. I watched it once at 4 a.m. in the morning when it first dropped, and the other time I watched it just before our space the other day.
Oh, right on. So okay, that's cool. So I know all the times you watched it. Everyone's having coffee now, Father, because
Yeah, everyone's
we
having
mentioned-
coffee but me, yeah.
I said, but we need like.
Let's get it. Let's Uber Fathery a coffee. Like,
Yeah,
we
if
can-
someone has like a
let's
what do you
get-
call
yeah.
it? Like a favor or something? Like you can send a coffee to my address.
Yeah, there you go.
or at least we can give him as like a cup of Old Grey or something like.
I'm not really like a hot tea drinker.
Happy
I live
Picard Day.
in the
stress-free
South
K.
United States, so I think
Right.
tea is to be served cold and sweet.
Right.
Yay, the gang's all here, and Earl Grey Trekkie. Woo! Howdy. How you doing?
Good. I might have to leave at some point just to get my dinner.
Okay, that's cool. We know. You can go to the galley. It's fine. Just mute yourself. That's awesome. Thanks for joining us, Robbie. Sorry I didn't send the link to you in the proper place. I didn't mean to make you look for it. I purposely didn't send you the link. No, I'm just kidding. All right, shall we get into it? I'm going to start my little presentation here. Audience, thank you for joining us. Here we go. Let's see here. Star Trek Picard, Season 2, Episode 1, The Stargazer. After 2 long but fortunately Trek-filled years... Oh, wait. I don't have us on the screen. Hold on. There we go. Okay, you got to see us. After 2 long but fortunately Trek-filled years, audiences and fans return to the world of Star Trek Picard, and we find the motley crew has moved on in some interesting and exciting ways. The episode kicks off with... The episode kicks off with an action set piece that immediately feels both familiar and new, and before cutting to the spiffy new opening credits sequence, we see Picard initiate the auto-destruct sequence amidst a chaotic battle aboard the bridge of a starship. We see Rios, Girardi, Seven, and a strange invading figure that sounds very familiar. Then Zero, then boom. And after that, we get to the spiffy new credit sequence. What did you all think of the credits, by the way? The new credits and the music playing over that.
I really like them. I like how Jeff Russo sort of played with the tempo. He made it a little bit more hopeful because the season 1 credits to me were a little bit more dour and a little bit more softer, and these credits seem to have a little bit more adventure stuck into them. So I like them quite a bit.
They were a little bit more melancholy in season, which is the whole season really had this melancholy vibe to it. But yeah, I think the change in the theme definitely showcases the shift in the tone, where we get a little bit more what's a faster tempo. It's kind of like in Deep Space Nine, going from seasons 3 to seasons 4, but it's a faster tempo. And then the visuals, they definitely have more impact the second time you see it, and you're like, oh yeah, but this is like that new Borg ship and whatever, like weird memory stuff is going on with his mom, and but I liked it. I liked that they're willing to change it up a little bit. That's always an exciting thing about watching a season premiere, is like, oh, what are they going to do for the titles sequence this season?
I think
Rob-
the titles were, the music at least was more upbeat for this kind of faster paced season, whereas last season they were more of reflecting Picard's character in that season, and more of a deconstruction of Picard, I suppose.
Yeah, like he was coming back together in that one at the end from the falling piece of shard. Now it's doing different things, like it seems to turn into La Sirena and go through all these different like weird kind of grid landscapes, and we see the Borg Queen inside of an hourglass, like a
Yeah,
Borg Queen.
the time
Yeah, the time
theme.
thing and stuff like that. Yeah.
Which Star Trek is sometimes kind of blunt. And they definitely hit you over the head with it here that like this season story is going to be about time, like to the point to where we have an hourglass in the opening titles.
The new credit sequence boldly teases us with a clear view of some kind of new Borg ship and other interesting images, and I'm sure we're going to find out what the meaning to all that imagery is as the season progresses. And I think for me the new version of the theme it's like a, kind of a fanfare now instead of just like a duet, so it's more like akin to what we're used to with Star Trek. There's like a lot more instruments. It feels like they put the whole orchestra in there for this instead. So the first person we catch up with is the revered Admiral Picard himself, as the famous Rolling Stones tune "Time Is on My Side" plays over happy scenes of the harvest on Chateau Picard. We see JL taking a moment to regard how nice his life is, and he has been through so much suffering and loss, regained his confidence in life, his synthetic body giving him a new lease, but not taking away the one thing that makes him human, a finite lifetime. We find out that his friend... Oh, the slideshow is not changing. That's... we find here he is regarding his wonderful life. We find out that his friend and member of the household staff, Shaban, has died some time ago, and so he and Laris deepen their relationship a little bit over this time. And so Lara speaks of her deceased beloved with regard, and it informs JL that in Romulan way is to love deeply and then honor that love by loving more deeply after they've passed. I thought of you, Fathery, because that's new information for the Romulans.
They have arranged marriages.
Yeah, they have arranged marriages, and like they also believe in like moving on, and they don't like just wither away after their partner dies or whatnot, or live a life alone.
So Picard has a thing for widows, right? Like, because when Jack Crusher died, he got really interested in Beverly. So.
Oh, that's right. That is true. What else? Lieutenant Darren was not a widow, though, as far as we know, right?
Yeah, that didn't really work out, though, did it?
No, and Vash was not a widow.
I mean, they never work out, though, and that's kind of. I love the idea of like shining a light on that. Of like, yeah, why did Picard? He never had like a serious ongoing relationship. It never happened. It was teased a lot, and it was always kind of presented as like. I must be focused on my ship and my command and my duties, and but that's kind of horse shit, isn't it? Like you could have made it work if you wanted it to work, and they show here he's free from all those other obligations, and he's still timid with Laris.
Yeah,
I think I could never see Picard be with someone like Vash, because Vash is so cheeky and mischievous and energetic, really. But Laris, I could totally see Picard being with on Chateau Picard.
She's a classier gal.
Yeah, but I was kind of put off because I suppose it's because this didn't really come from anywhere, and I suppose that's part of having a new showrunner, having a season that's kind of rebooting the show, essentially. But I'm hoping this ties into Beverly showing up. I hope that, although that would make things difficult, maybe...
I know I'm that way.
Robbie, are you a Crusher Picard shipper? Because there a lot of people are.
I never used to be, but I think I'm not expecting Picard and Beverly to get together and have a romance in this show, just because this show has so much going on and such little time until season 3 and it's done. But I would like to see some kind of rekindling, even if it's a small one.
Yeah, I'd like to see Beverly Crusher again. I have no desire to ever see them be like their happier ever after between her and Jean-Luc. I actually love what they did in All Good Things, where they're like, oh yeah, they tried to get married and it didn't work out. Again, which that also suggests that maybe Picard does have a problem with long-term relationships. And the I don't want to jump ahead, but when we get some flashbacks to his childhood, that might actually tease where some of his
His
perhaps where some of his issues are coming
issues
from.
are coming from. Yeah.
Which might be an influence by Patrick Stewart and some of the stuff he's talked about in his real life. But yeah,
totally.
just seeing Picard, on the chateau, so happy and upbeat. It's really important that this episode, in order to make us care about the stakes of this future, this 2401, the world going on here, being in danger, being at risk. This is what they're going to be fighting to restore, to bring back. They really have to make you give a shit about it. And by showing, how good and enjoyable it all is, to the point to where I'm kind of sad at the end of the episode when we're going off an alternate timeline, and I know there's going to be time travel coming up, and I was like, no, I kind of want to spend time in 2401. I liked it there. I like seeing that stuff.
Exactly, like liking where everyone ended up too. Robbie, you were saying about like rebooting. I don't see this series, season 2 as a reboot, but it feels to me like a very much like a continuation, in the sense that there's like there were really strong kind of there were strong references to what came before, like as far as like the characters, what they've been doing after.
They acknowledge
like
it.
They acknowledge it, and it like answers some questions and stuff like that.
But
which
it is a
really
big shift, and
Yeah.
but we can pinpoint where that shift started. It actually was within season 1. At the end, they end on a much more upbeat vibe at the end of season 1. So here, new showrunner Terry Matalas definitely picks up the baton at that point and continues in that trajectory, which I think was really brilliant, because season 1 was more melancholy, and it was kind of depressed at times. And okay, well, into season 1 we get all the Tal Shiar treacherous asses out of Starfleet. We fix Starfleet. We fix Picard. He's happy now.
Asses.
Yeah, so we can continue in that direction that I think a lot of people were finding more enjoyable. I know, like, that was one of the complaints in season 1. Like, I'm kind of done with Sinister Starfleet. I kind of want the more optimistic, inspirational world of the Roddenberry future in modern Trek, which I think they're giving us here, and in some of the other shows they're giving us a little bit more of lately than what we were getting recently. The last thing, and then I'll shut up, I promise. But I do agree with Robbie that the Laris Picard romance does feel a little forced. I never got any hint of that in season 1. Will Wheaton said in Ready Room, he's like, I think there were some hints of that in season 1. I mean, I don't think that, but okay,
I don't
whatever.
see it either. We just watched it fresh too.
Sometimes that happens though. When someone dies or someone becomes single or something. Maybe Picard never saw her as, pardon the parlance, but on the menu before. She didn't register as like available or an option. She might not have been seeking anything, but we don't know how long Jabon's been dead. It all happened off. Isn't that crazy? They don't have the showrunner Shaban anymore, so they don't have the character Zaban anymore. It's like, although I know Shaban's still involved. He's still in the writers' room.
Yeah, Shiva. Yeah, but not the character named after him.
Right.
He's been killed off.
Yeah, and he's killed off screen rather unceremoniously.
That's kind of symbolic, Father. It's like
but...
we're killing off the previous showrunner. Like that's it. Like this is this is a new one here.
It's new love.
But yeah, they kind of fridge him. If you've ever heard that term before, but
no, but I get it. Yeah,
they get rid of the love, the love interest, just to make the other character Laris more interesting. But I mean, that does kind of show, okay, 2 years have passed, some things have changed, and now people who might have only seen each other as close friends, maybe now they see each other as potentially more. So that is kind of how real life shakes out sometimes.
It's interesting.
Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead, Robbie.
It's interesting that you say about this episode being more optimistic, because I think this episode as a whole, it's the best time I've had watching a Star Trek episode that's just come out. The endorphins were flowing, and I was grinning throughout most of this episode. But I think we know that this season is going to go down a kind of darker path in the past, and I think I am excited for that as much as I like this optimistic opening, because some of Trek's best episodes are delving into the darkness to show us why we have to uphold the light.
Right on. Real quick, so who is Eleanor promised to have been holding this up on the screen for a while? It's me. It's me. He's promised to me. We were promised to each other at our birth. So, yeah, just so you guys know. Marcel, any other thoughts about this sequence before we go on?
I really enjoyed this opening sequence because it really shows the change in tone from season one. I thought the season one tone was very dark, dimmer, melancholy, and sort of dark to the extreme. And I really liked seeing a lighter side of Picard. I like that he's in a happier place now in his life. And as far as the relationship between him and Laris is concerned, I don't know if it's going to happen, and I don't know how I would feel about a potential relationship with them happening because I am a Picard and Beverly shipper. So it would mean a lot to me if they would get back together and hint at a potential relationship. I don't have to see it come to fruition in season 3, but if they would hint that they're going to get back together or something of that nature, I would appreciate that.
Nice. So Laris asks, why have you chosen to be alone? To which Jean-Luc refers to his desire for duty and exploration, how his needs have always stood in line behind that. But Laris challenges him by revealing her feelings for him, and for a brief moment JL contemplates a kiss, but backs down because he's thinking of Beverly just before it happens, and after chooses to visit a sectioned off portion of the chateau in what looks like an abandoned arboretum that seems to hold some meaning for him. We are thrust into a memory from his boyhood in which we meet Yvette Picard and find out that she is moving to Paris in this memory. We are shown uncomfortable images of Yvette and Maurice fighting, Yvette suffering, trying to hide the truth perhaps from her son. She tells him, if we should shout to each other now and then, I want you to look up and imagine how tiny our voices are out there. So tiny you can't even hear them. Look up at the stars, Jean-Luc. Look up. What did you guys think of the flashback?
I like that. I like that very, very much because, if I'm not mistaken, this is the only second time in Star Trek that we've seen Jean-Luc smile. The other time was in that episode where the Enterprise was going through that sort of space bubble.
Where no man has gone before.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
And she says,
I'm sorry. We're no one.
Yeah.
No man's the Gary Mitchell one. Where no one has gone before.
But very similar theme. And she says in that episode, I'm always with you. You sense that somehow. And he says something along the lines of, I've always felt that, which is interesting.
Also, I think this flashback hints at some of the issues that Jean-Luc has has been dealing with as an adult, because it hints at an abusive father, and it sheds some light as to why Jean-Luc is so serious towards children, and he hates children, and he's a very, very stern man. So that this flashback could hint at where that came from, or where that philosophy came from a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's great. This suggests they're going to unpack some of the Picard baggage that we've seen him carry around for decades. Maybe this is where his relationship issues stem from, his problems with children stem from, and we also know that Patrick Stewart has talked about he grew up around domestic abuse in his home, and that's something that he's been very vocal about in recent years. And so I'm wondering if is that something that's going on here? There's the weird images of her being like dragged across the floor, which suggests something even more serious than domestic abuse. Yeah, it's like looks something like a horror movie or something, like some monster is like dragging her away or something. So yeah, there's something really weird that I'm sure we'll get more and more glimpses of. But yeah, I think it's an interesting place to revisit, and it also uses some of the established lore. We know that Picard was close to his mom, he misses his mom, and we know that he also didn't really like his dad, and is perhaps even scared of his dad. So that's cool that they're building on top of that. But Robbie, what were you gonna say?
I just thought it was a nice beat because it's interesting because trauma can affect people in so many different ways. But it's sad that Picard thinks, or at least it's implied, he thinks he can't have a romantic relationship because of his past. Surely he should be, unless he feels uncomfortable just having a relationship and it's somehow tied to his past, but he doesn't realize that because he's a very mature person, and maybe that's down to his family life, but I'm sure he would begin a new generation of just being a wonderful parent and kind of reforming the past.
Right on. Yeah, for me it was pretty startling because I hadn't really. I knew that Picard had like a rough childhood. I knew that Robert kind of bullied him, right? Like we find that out in Family, that his older brother was a bully, and so it hints that perhaps the behavior was being learned from the father, and the father might have been a bully as well, and that's why Robert was one. So yeah, there's definitely that going on in TNG, but yeah, Father, the image of her being dragged or whatever is a little alarming. It's not as far as I imagined it in when I thought
Sure.
of
And
this.
they
Yeah.
even suggest that Picard in his memories might be an unreliable narrator.
Narrator, yeah, that
There
was
might
on
be
the Ready
something he
Room,
doesn't
right?
fully
Yeah.
remember from childhood, or I don't know. I mean, they're doing time travel, so maybe we will actually revisit these early John Luke years and see what happens for ourselves.
We talked yesterday. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Sorry. I'm not convinced that it's. I know we're doing time travel, but I I don't want to spoil. But Q says something in the next episode, or no, it's in the trailer actually. He says time is broken, and I'm wondering if they're going to have time travel, but they're actually going to make it that we switch between um, the dystopian future and this alternate universe and the past. So maybe there's different characters in a dark future, and then some other characters in the past trying to make sure this future doesn't happen, or Picard will be going through time almost, so that maybe he could, I don't know, save Japan, or um, just it would be able to play with his history a lot, if that's the case. But that's just speculation.
Father and I have a little glimpse ahead. We were an episode ahead of some folks, so we're gonna probably sit on our hands a little bit and not like add. So we might not answer your question per se because we might have influence over it. But I will just say that like from what I saw, what I gleaned from the episodes going further than that is that there's gonna be a good chunk of the show set in 2024. Was it right, Father? Like it looks like in the past. In the trailers?
2024, yeah.
Yeah,
So
2024.
2 years from modern day. Also, where Cisco and Jadzia and Bashir visit in DS9.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. It'd be crazy if we had overlap. That would be amazing. But anyways, so I think that's gonna be where we spend the majority of the time, Robbie. And it's based on what the trailer was saying, it's like maybe there's one thing in the past that needs to be changed or something to restore the future. But I don't know. I don't know yet. we'll find out. But that segues into, in the midst of all this touching moment, we're shown something being born in space. And it's like, oh, where'd it go? Here we go. Something being born in space, and it's a rift or a tear or some sort of anomaly, reminding us we are building back to the moment we were shown at the beginning of the episode. The clock is ticking away. And then we have Admiral... By the way, I screenshotted this just to highlight these beautiful like wide shots, and they're filming all of this I think on a vineyard. I haven't had a chance to go through it, but Dave Blass, who's the director, the production
designer.
He is posting a ton of tweets with lots and lots of resources like behind the scenes info and production info and like concept sketches and stuff like that. So he's hashtagging it so that it doesn't show up if you filter your hashtags, but it's pretty cool. So go check that out. And then
there's thought behind every object you see
it's true.
on the chateau, at the guidance bar, on everywhere, every little tiny microscopic piece of set dressing. There's thought behind it.
It's pretty astonishing. I can't wait to buy the book on this. I know they'll release probably a production book. Admiral Picard gives a speech at Starfleet Academy for new cadets, and we are reunited with Rafi, who is back in uniform, and Elnor, who is been chosen to who is the first Romulan
Full-blooded Romulan.
To join Starfleet.
Don't forget crewman Tarsus.
Tarsus, and then I would imagine what wasn't Savick, like, even though it wasn't on screen, I guess technically she would have been also
not
someone.
Canon, but some people think so.
Oh, then no, Tarsus as it is. We'll stick to what's on screen.
Good man.
Raffi beams with pride, and Jean-Luc talks to the cadets about time and second chances and inspiration. The episode moves quickly to a battered-looking La Sirena, and 7 of 9 facing pirates with La Sirena's quirky tactical hologram, Emmett. Emmett and 7 dispatch the pirates, and after a little introspection, we see the anomaly has grown larger, and 7 decides to investigate. So, yeah, what'd you guys think of this whole sequence?
I liked it very, very much. I like anything having to do with 7, so that's always plus. I really like that she was given the La Sirena after Rios got a promotion of sorts, which I'm sure we'll get to in a couple minutes here. But just to go back a little bit, I loved everything everything at Starfleet Academy with Picard giving basically the commencement speech to all the new cadets. I love that Eleanor is on a better path, and he's joining Starfleet.
He's not a warrior anymore. He's putting down his sword in favor of a sensor, in favor of a tricorder and a phaser, I guess.
Yeah, I love that Rafi is back in uniform and she looks to be in a better place in her life. But again, I love Jean-Luc's speech, and I love it because it is hopeful. It's not overly dour like much of season 1 was, and season 1 was, oh, she's a destroyer of it all, the world's going to end, and some alien snakes are going to come and ruin us all. So, yeah, I just like the overall tone of this episode so much. Like I said in previous discussions, this episode to me felt more TNG than the entirety of season 1 did. Yeah, and and when we get to a specific ship, that's like overload TNG for me when we get there.
I don't know if I would say it felt TNG to me, but it felt definitely like a continuation of that 80s and 90s era 24th century.
Right.
The design language feels closest. I think when you say TNG,
well, they have those people.
TNG era, right? Like,
yeah, but I don't like saying like DS9 and Voyager extensions of TNG.
Right, okay.
I like thinking of them as equals, but I think a lot of that, is just because they have a lot of those people, Doug Drexler, Mike Okuda, working on the shows now. And Terry Matalas was in the Voyager writers room.
Yeah.
Right.
And Enterprise. I think he was involved on Enterprise too.
Right. No, and for those of you who follow me on Twitter, you know how excited I was when I found out that Picard was going to go in a different direction and hire Terry Matalas. I was so beyond excited for him to.
Yeah, I was nervous because I didn't. Nothing against Matalas, but I didn't want to use. I didn't want to lose Michael Chabon's philosophy of like using the canon, pulling from the continuity. But Terry Matalas in one episode has shown that he is also very keen on doing that. So I'm stoked now going forward.
Yeah, but my favorite thing about this episode is something really minor. And this is just for me personally. I love how all of the cadets in this episode showed Jean-Luc a moniker of respect, because I felt, from a personal standpoint, I felt that in last season he was disrespected so much that it drove me up a wall. And it wasn't just with Admiral Clancy. It was when it was when Rafi spoke to him and called him JL. That really
Hey, that's
didn't
his nickname with her. She still calls him
I
JL.
yeah, I
And, like,
understand
it's
that. I
like-
understand that. I understand that.
I
But
know,
with
I
me
get
per-
all defensive here
but-
because JL
but with-
doesn't give a crap.
Yeah, but
He's like
yeah,
all cool.
yeah, but with me personally, that's Jean-Luc Picard. You call him by his proper name. You don't give him a crappy little nickname. Like, well, again,
When Dr. McCoy calls Admiral Kirk Jim, does
Yeah.
Does that
Marcelo
bother you?
get mad? He's like,
No,
no, you
but then-
call him fucking Admiral Kirk, you piece of shit.
Yeah. Hey, thanks,
No,
Father. That's a good point. You should.
I
You
gotta-
don't
yeah.
get mad, do you, Marcelo?
No, but okay.
No, no,
okay, let me-
but.
let me-
No,
okay,
no,
let me-
but,
let me- okay.
but. And what about Beverly calls him just Jean-Luc, not Captain Picard?
Yeah, but that's different because look,
Rafi
I-
and
I-
Jean-Luc worked together
I-
for 14 years.
Yeah. I will admit. Look, I will admit that I spent more time with Kirk, Bones. I spent more time with Beverly, and I spent more time with Jean-Luc. So I don't have that familiarity with Rafi that I do with those other people. So when those other people do those things, it doesn't
I
bother
love
me
that
as
this
much.
is the hill you die on.
Yeah,
I'll let
it's
you
gonna-
have
yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's gonna be the hill.
But
I
you were
die on.
happy to see him respected. You're happy to see the
Yeah.
pomp and circumstance, sort of
yeah.
like the.
But it fits into the story also because he's
Yeah.
not the dude going on the news saying Starfleet can eat shit and die.
Yeah, that's true. He did say that.
Also-
He actually, that's a good point.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing, of course,
Yeah.
but
no, but it's like, it's true.
Also, I did. I jumping forward a little bit here. I did like that scene where the admiral shows up to Picard's chateau, and comes to Jean-Luc and says, "Listen, Jean-Luc, there's this hole in space, and for some reason it's calling out your name," and just hands him a communicator badge. And just that admiral sitting down and sort of respecting him. She's not like Admiral Clancy that didn't give a shit about what Jean-Luc had to say. So again, I just like the moniker of respect that he's given in this episode.
Right on. You said your piece. I disagree, but I think I do get what you're saying though, and what Father's saying kind of is more like where I'm at is like he's now back in the fold. Like he's no longer at odds with with Starfleet. Jean-Luc is at odds with Father.
he's still at odds with me.
He's still at odds with you.
It's like at the end when he's like, no,
Father,
fathery.
but he's no longer at odds with Starfleet. In fact, he's influencing the next generation of Starfleet cadets by being the chancellor of Starfleet Academy. Very nice.
And why is no one on the internet talking about this? I've been away, so I didn't get to point it out. But Eleanor's uniform, his cadet uniform, I see everyone like comparing it to like Rom's cadet uniform from DS9, which yes, obvious similarities there, like those big
The
gray
gray and the
pockets on the
red-
thighs.
yeah, and the-
but that
yeah.
little slant on you have the
Star Trek
red
Prodigy.
shoulder pad. Yeah, it ties into Prodigy.
Yeah. Well, Aaron Walkie tweeted about it. I think someone asked about that or something similar, and he said that there are things they're doing on. The writers' rooms are talking a lot more than they have previously.
Yeah, and
They're
the uniform
exchanging
designers, because we also the wraparound uniforms that we get
saw
here,
that
which
in
I
Prodigy
love.
first. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's they're a little different on Prodigy, but yeah,
Right.
they're very similar.
Yeah, it's true. Very nice. By the way, Marcelo, Picard called an admiral by his initials in Best of Both Worlds, just FYI. All right, so here we back to this here. We find ourselves reunited with Soji and Dr. Girardi in the Beta Quadrant. They seem to be on some kind of galactic goodwill tour. Sorry, I lost my place. Wow, how did that happen? You guys, this is an experimental thing.
The beauty of doing things live.
Yeah, doing things live and for the first time, I just got this idea like last minute. So, all right, so they're on some kind of galactic goodwill tour. While Soji entertains a group of Deltans at dinner, Agnes drowns her problems out with drinks at a bar. And when she's approached by a friendly suitor, who did that laugh?
That's a drunk face right there.
It
I've never
is, it's
seen
true.
one.
It is. It's true.
Yeah, she looks like a hot mess.
her problems with drinks at a bar, and when she's approached by a friendly suitor, she quickly dispatches his attempts, informing him that she's not quite worked out. She hasn't quite worked out the events 2 years ago that led to her temporary insanity and consequent killing of her
Picard
partner.
ain't
Bruce
the
Maddox.
only one with,
Yeah, it's true. And we
dating
get
his
the little bit of
attempts.
information that she did go on trial. Marcelo, another point that you that you were happy about, right? She did actually have a trial, and she was acquitted of her crimes, so that was good. So
Which
G
they
tells
already explained in season 1 that she was out of her mind.
Yeah, it's
literally,
true.
that was the exact words they used. But
Soji tells the guests, "You can't ask for trust through an interpreter. It needs to come from here, our hearts, and here, our mouths." She doesn't say that, I said the mouths part, but she then speaks to them in their native language, and the delegation is highly impressed.
so do they have to establish Delton language now? Is that something? That
Yeah, I
we-
guess that's something that happened. Yeah,
that we
and I
have,
didn't catch
so-
that they were Delton the first time. I don't know how I didn't catch that. They look exactly like what Deltons have been, looking like. And
Yeah,
she also says
at one
something
point
about.
she actually
Yeah.
says something about them being Delton.
Yeah, I didn't catch that till like the third viewing. So yeah, the first time I was like super confused about it. But yeah, it's totally
You gotta
cool
watch
that
with captions on. You don't miss as many details.
as many details.
promise.
That's true. To Agnes's relief, she's hailed by her more recent ex, Captain Rios, and when Agnes beams aboard the ship, she tells aboard his ships, we see that Rios has been not only restored his commission in Starfleet, but he is now the captain of Starfleet's neo starship, the USS Stargazer, this time a Sagan-class starship with the latest and greatest Starfleet technology, utilizing Borg technology from the artifact. So there she is. What did you guys think of this whole sequence and finally the reveal of Stargazer and
Love
and
it.
now at this point we know where all of them are.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the Stargazer. Again, it's part of what I said that they needed to do. They needed to show like how good everyone is doing, how well off everyone is here, so that when this is at risk at the end, and what we were talking about earlier about season 2 not being as dark, or I kind of disagree, because the very end of it does get incredibly dark. But it starts off more upbeat. And then the darkness comes in when they pull the rug out from under us, and we're ended with like, oh no, all of that cool stuff that we liked and enjoyed for the last 45 minutes, that's all at risk, and now we have to get it back.
In the words of a guy with a kite, I will simply say, when I saw the Stargazer, I'll say, hell yeah.
Very deep cut.
Thank you. And you picked
Yeah,
up
I
it very
wanted.
much.
Is that a reference
A
to
Batman
Da Vinci?
villain
Oh, okay.
called Kite Man. Says, hell yeah.
I was like, hell yeah. No.
It was the Tom King comics, and then they started doing it on the Harley Quinn animated show.
Yeah. I lost my thought. Okay, so I love the fact that they updated the Stargazer, and basically they made it one of their new flagships, basically, I think. But the thing that I loved about this version of the Stargazer, the bridge is like elevated, so it has different levels to it. If I looked at the bridge layout correctly.
Yeah, like the captain's chair is on a higher, like a pedestal almost. I don't have a picture of it here yet, but yeah.
Also, I love the design of the L cars and the turbo lift and the corridors. I really, really, really love the design language of the way that the new Stargazer looks. And, I'm going to say it, I loved when Picard ran into Seven and they were walking down the corridors. And as Picard was walking by, the cadets, formed in a line and gave him respect. I was going to say it. But I just love that.
By the way, that's just standard. That's just what is it? What is it called? It's not
standard
respect. They
protocol?
don't call it just protocol. They're just
Yeah,
following
protocol.
protocol. Yeah, that's all.
But
I would
still,
just
I love
say, YOLO cutus.
Yo, look
Yo,
cute.
the Yo, the cutest.
Cutest.
Look cute.
That's what's going to happen when they go back in time to 2024, and Cisco and Bashir are going to be there. They're going to turn around, and Cisco's going to say, "Locutus, you killed my wife, asshole." But no, the ship is beautiful. Just me as like the tech nerd that I am with Star Trek. I loved seeing the interiors. I loved the exteriors, which I'm fairly certain is a John Eves design. By
It
the
is, yeah.
his style. There is also some really cool looking crew. We have the Bajoran and the Trill and the Vulcan. So using the established Star Trek lore, just like using the Deltons earlier. So kudos to the show for doing all of that. And the weird visual image, though, is Rio smoking a cigar. But I just want to remind people that he uses synthigars, so that's not he's not like giving people cancer with secondhand smoke. It's,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Also, we haven't actually seen him light it yet. He seems to have like Rios has always had some idiosyncrasies, but he seems to. It seems like he has an arrangement with his security officer where the security officer keeps the lighter, and in one scene he like kind of asks for it, and the security officer tosses it to him, and you just see a couple times where he looks like he's gonna light it, but he never actually lights it. So maybe it's just like his way. It's his fidget spinner.
I almost wonder
in a
with
weird
Santiago
way.
Cabrera just wanting interesting things to do as he's acting, because he doesn't get to be all the wacky holograms anymore. They merged them all
Except
into-
for Emmett.
all into Emmett, which Emmett was the best one out of all of them. Emmett was the cool. Emmett's the one I would hang out with.
Yeah, what was he? Your Mexican metal, like sort of guy, right?
I
Like
go to a lot of metal concerts here in Texas, and there's a lot of long hair Mexican dudes speaking Spanish, looking like that.
Robbie, your impressions of Stargazer and Captain Rios being in command and any of that?
Can I first say something quickly about Agnes?
Sure.
Dave said something on Text Trek. He said, a lot of people wanted her to, pay for her crimes and pick out of sexism. And I realized, why did I actually want to Jurati to kind of, why did I want her to serve some kind of penance when Worf, he said, Worf has killed so many people, and I don't care about that much. And I think I just was annoyed at the character as a whole. I didn't like who she was and how dark she was, but in this episode, I thought she was quite funny.
Right on. I think she's more like, I think a lot of people forget how she is in the beginning of season 1, where she's like very exuberant and excited about the AI and like the androids, Daj and Soji, and like she has this like kind of like bubblier personality, and it's not till she goes mad. And so I do like that we have a return to her and that kind of humor. She's quite funny on the bridge. I'm sure it might not be Synth Hall, but she's just quite funny on the bridge and stuff like that. And...
Well, Deltons probably go hard with their party, and so I think they got the real stuff. But one of the things that they have the advantage of doing here after season 1, because season 1s are always a little shaky. You have to figure everything out as you're going. You don't have something to look back at and make adjustments from. And one of the issues you could say with season 1 is that some of the characters were inconsistent. I think a big one was with Rafi. Would watch season 1 episodes. I'd always be like, is she going to be sober? Is she going to be relapsing? What's going to be going on this episode? She's kind of hard to pin down. And you can say the same of Girardi. But they do a really solid job here of, when they show us what every character is doing and what they're currently up to and their new status quo after this 2-year time jump. But part of, making characters likable is showing something understandable that the audience can pin down, at kind of the first glimpse. And you need that consistency to establish your characters for the audience. And so I think, a lot of these people might be, more likable going forward now that it's kind of easier to wrap our heads around who they are, broadly speaking, who these different people are and what they're like and what they're doing.
I have to say, like, it's interesting choice that Soji was left behind here, because there's a version of the story that I imagine where she went along, and at the end she's doing her data moves on the controls to keep the queen locked out. You know, like that might have been an interesting like nod back. But we didn't.
Soji
we didn't,
Soji versus the queen would be
pretty
Yeah.
rad, right? like,
That'd
but
be
so
neat.
she has been left behind though, so that's interesting. That I wonder how that's going to play out as the season progresses. If we'll be jumping back to see the aftermath, because you know, as far as we're concerned, they're all dead. A whole fleet got destroyed right at the end of this sequence. So Soji would be like mourning the loss of all her friends, basically, which is pretty crazy that she just made. Because Elnor's gone, Rafi's gone, everyone's gone in that just one big sequence. But yeah, great points about all that, Fathery.
Can I just say like a quick criticism before I forget though?
Yeah, please do,
My
because we definitely want to be fair and say
probably
it, yeah.
one big issue with this episode is just the incredible coincidence of this anomaly opens in space to summon Picard, and it just happens to open up near where Seven of Nine and Rios are. It's like two of the last people to hang out with Picard are gonna meet right here, where they're asking for Picard. And even if you're like, well, maybe the Borg did that intentionally. Like, why was Seven and Rios that close to each other? Or just it just seems very, very convenient. Not a huge deal, but I just want to point that out. It's like that's a little forced.
It's
y'all.
suspicious, but I'm leaning towards the events were manufactured to come together that way thing. There's this like weird stuff going on the bridge.
Well,
There's
in
this, like,
9 weeks.
Yeah, we'll find out.
We'll find out. But
We'll
I'm
find out it's
gonna
true.
guess now. This is just like everyone saying like I think the DMA is gonna be V'ger. I'm like, no, I don't think so. But I don't know. We'll just wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. So yeah. Any other thoughts before we move on to the next segment?
The Stargazer
Segment?
looks fantastic.
Oh yeah, here she is again. She's
Oh,
beautiful.
the Stargazer. I gotta say something else about it.
Say it.
I love what they did with the registry number, and I don't know if anyone else. I'm sure people have already pointed this out, but I love that they didn't make it NCC 2893-A. Instead,
A.
there's like an 8 in front of it. So it's like, here's a ship that's coming up. It's going to be 8 something, and then they're like, oh, let's just make it like the Stargazer, and because it's going to be 82893. I think that's more interesting than just like putting like a -A. I think the -A should be kind of rare. It's
Yeah.
weird to me that there's a Voyager J and a Discovery A in Discovery right now. I think that's something that should be kind of reserved, because we do see ships have the same names, repeated names, but they don't always put like a -A. That's something that they mainly only do with the Enterprise, and maybe now with Voyager or one or two other super important ships. But
I think what it is when you have that iconic like run of 7 seasons or whatnot with a certain ship, you get attached to the registry number as well, and so it's like, let's just keep, it's like the audience wants that same registry number. But you're right, this is way more interesting and probably more realistic, and I like that also. I love Carl Sagan, so I'm glad that the class name we find out
is the Sagan class,
the
which is
Sagan
what
class.
in the old days that's what they used to call the Oberth class, until TNG said like, no, that's called the Oberth. But like the
Oh, I
fans
didn't
thought
realize
that
that.
was
It was
yeah, it was
called
in
the
like the
Sagan
role playing
class.
games or something. Back when they used to call the Miranda's Avenger class, but
Right on. Okay.
all that's non-canon. So that obviously the shows chose to not incorporate that stuff. But yeah, it's great to have a Sagan class. There's some great starship names in this episode, by the way, with the there's a new Grissom, there's a new Excelsior, there's a Hikaru Sulu. Good thing they call it the Hikaru Sulu, because there's been multiple Sulus in Starfleet, so good to know
Yep.
which one it is.
Yeah. But maybe Damara Sulu also has a ship named after her.
Yeah, maybe we don't know too much about her. And then whichever Captain Sulu Chakotay met.
It'd be really great if the reason we don't see the Excelsior's captain, I'm all cool. I was confused with Rafi being in command of Excelsior, because I was like, can commanders command a starship? But Brian cleared
I
up.
don't think she is in command.
Oh, Brian cleared up that it's a possibility. I think on your podcast, he said that it's possible for smaller vessels, which Excelsior, it's funny, was once really huge, but
Yeah,
now
we've
it
seen
is
it.
small.
We've seen it in Star Trek multiple times.
Yeah, so it's
but-
possible she is Commander.
But I
Excelsior.
would just think maybe since she's like a security officer, maybe she's like the
And a
chief
friend.
security officer.
And that's why she did the hail. Yeah, exactly. to say
Yeah,
we're here to help
I
you.
did, nothing suggested to me that she was in command of it.
It might be interesting to see if the captain of Excelsior is Damara Sulu, because she would be around at this time, right? And I guess
She'd be really old.
an old captain, but yeah.
She would be like 110 years
her
older
you're
than
right.
she was in Generations.
You're right, and her character was already...
She'd be like 130. She's like 40 years older than Picard.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. True.
Let her retire.
Let her retire.
Poor gal
It's
retire.
true.
They've just got
back
a
Let the
strap
woman
to the seat.
retire. Let the woman retire.
See,
In Star Trek Online, they have like her grandson is a Star Trek captain or something like that. So
Yeah.
maybe they could have like a younger Sulu.
Back on Earth, the cadets muster and head off to their assignments, and we get the sense that the fleet is preparing to ship off, perhaps. Rafi and Jean-Luc catch up, and JL expresses his contentment at being appointed the Chancellor of Starfleet Academy. Rafi reveals that she misses and longs for a relationship with Seven of Nine, but doesn't see how she could ask Seven to give up her rangering efforts. Jean-Luc gives Elnor a copy of a book Spock wrote while he was a cadet, and JL quotes the book after Elnor expresses how his excitement can be a distraction. Exhilaration enhances the absorption of knowledge. In other words, live a little. And we see Elnor laugh, breaking his steely co-op Milat coolness for just a moment. I will cherish it. We discover Rafi and Elnor are both assigned to Excelsior, and Rafi admits she's looking out for him, and Jean-Luc is pleased with that. It seems our heroes are on a good path. What do you guys think of this like whole little moment? And I was trying to say earlier on Text Trek, I pointed out that and I kind of noticed that I think it was Jill or someone in your audience or I forget who pointed out. It might have been Jill or it could have been Cake is Eternal. That the tone was the vibe was very similar to 2009 Star Trek when they were all getting shipped off to go investigate this anomaly. Yeah, and I felt that same vibe here in the scene. So you felt that too, right?
Yeah, it was for sure consistent with that.
Yeah.
And how cool would it be if at one point during Strange New Worlds we hear Ethan Peck say exhilaration accelerates what is it? What's the actual line?
It's exhilaration accelerates the absorption of knowledge. It's such a Spock thing to say too. It's like it's
wouldn't that be beautiful if that connected up like that?
I would love that. You're 100% spot on that.
We are in the golden age of Star Trek. It is the new golden age.
No, we really truly are. What any thoughts on this scene, you guys?
Yeah, I have one. I really like the design of Rafi's uniform in this scene. It's really reminiscent just a little bit of it's got a kind of Lower Decks style to it. Now it's not exactly like Lower Decks, obviously, but if you look at it, it's very, very, very close to Lower Decks. And the last thing that I really particularly loved about this scene is before Rafi goes away to the Stargazer ship, again, she properly acts like she should have acted all throughout season 1 and gave some respect to Jean-Luc. I appreciated that. So I will be harping on that throughout this entire episode because I just loved it. I'm done.
I thought it was clever that someone pointed it out. It wasn't me that noticed it, and maybe I'm just being a bit thick, but I thought it was clever that they pointed out that this episode is called the Stargazer because the Stargazer's in it, but Picard is also looking up to the stars. That's his
He is the Stargate.
speech.
He is the young Stargazer. My little Magellan, the explorer. Very cool. Back in space, Girardi and Rios and Seven coincidentally converge on the anomaly, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Father was pointing out how that's a little too coincidental. And after a little exchange between Seven and Rios over the condition of La Serena, we find the stakes change quickly when it is discovered there is a message coming through the anomaly, a message in many languages overlapping, but all saying, "Help us, Picard." What did you guys think of when you heard that message? Were you like, "Oh, we've seen this before"? What were you like?
My first thought was, "Is that the Borg?"
Yes.
Which I was like, it probably won't be, but it sure sounds like them, and then it was.
Yeah, I really, really, I kind of knew it was the Borg from the get go, but when I first heard that message for the first time, I'm like, the hell are they doing? Like, why do the Borg need Picard's help? Why do they do what they do later on in this episode? So I'm like, either they really do need Picard's help and they do need the Federation's help, or they're lying and they want something from the Federation or they want something from Picard. So for me, right now it's 50-50 whether they are or whether they're not telling the truth. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
Robbie?
I was just thinking, I wonder if this is related at all to season one, because we did see the Borg quite often during season one, and I had actually said I'm sick of seeing the Borg, but I was overjoyed to see the Borg in this season. So I don't know. I also
Absence makes the heart grow fonder, and you haven't watched Voyager, so you haven't been Borg fatigued as some people who watched Voyager said it got. I don't feel that way about the Borg, by the way, but I love the Borg. I can keep giving me Borg stories. I'm good.
I think it was just the presentation. It felt a lot more epic than it's nice to explore the XBs and more sympathetically and have them in a Borg cube, but the way they presented it, like it was, a mix of 2009 and kind of Star Trek First Contact with the voice over the bridge was just really cool. And I loved the fact that they used the TNG hailing frequency sound effect. That just warmed my heart because it's got that little do. I can't do it, but that was.
I know
great.
what you're talking about. All the sounds were very familiar. A few comments here. I actually like that Picard wasn't as epic in his old age. Father had some great things to say about Trek characters aging. Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was remarking at how startling it was at how old Picard is and stuff like that. And I said, personally, I love it for that same reason. It's like, I kind of have always seen Jean-Luc as like when I was a very young man, I saw Jean-Luc as like a role model, like to as far as like when I become an adult, like how I want to behave and how I want to, be. And now he's a role model for when
Star
I
Trek
get
allows
old.
its heroes to age, and
Yeah, exactly.
a lot of our pop culture doesn't do that. Perfect example. When I was a little kid in 1989, Michael Keaton, this big grown up, was Batman. And later today, I'm about to go see Robert Pattinson, this dude who I think is younger than me now, be Batman. So Batman ain't getting older, but Picard is.
But Picard is.
But
it's
Picard
true.
is.
Stress-free cases so far. The only neuro atypical characters I've enjoyed are actually that in real life. I even appreciate Tilly pushing that envelope, but it's sort of like blackface now. You have to kind of think about that. You're saying that like we're seeing a lot more neurotypical characters, and maybe it's like they're using it like instead of casting someone who is a neurotypical, a similar kind of thing, like the Good Doctor and all those.
Who is neuroatypical in Picard? I don't know
if there is anyone, it would probably be maybe Agnes, but maybe not. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think. People can wear people can put masks over it, so we can train ourselves to like ones who are neuroatypical can train themselves to.
I'd be interested in hearing people's thoughts.
But Tilly is often seen that way, and I think like Data is often seen that way as well as a at least
or
not
Spock.
in
A lot
or
of
Spock
people
as well. Yeah. So all the really insanely intelligent characters, I guess.
Jessie Gender has talked about that. I believe she's someone on the spectrum. I admittedly don't know a ton about that stuff, but she has some good thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I agree with that as well. Jessie Gender highlights so many interesting things. Shout out to Jessie, also friend of the channel. Why didn't Picard and Seven sense that was the Borg? Seven did when the ship came out. She could hear them, or she was able to connect and realize that it is the Borg. But Picard couldn't because his synth body no longer has the Borg implants. So he needs to rely on Seven about those things. So we shouldn't see him have any more as far as I know, we shouldn't see him have any more connections to the Borg that way. And I think that was brought up on Text Trek, by the way, in that discussion as well. So we talked about it there. But yeah, so yeah, Picard no longer has that, just like he no longer has the aromatic syndrome or any of that stuff.
Or he doesn't have like a mechanical heart. He
Heart,
probably has
yeah.
an organic heart now.
It's now an organic heart as well. So yeah. Recent events and perhaps I forget. There we go. Okay, recent events and perhaps the thought of the previous night's disappointment with Laris moved Jean-Luc to visit an old friend and source of counsel, his dear friend Guinan. We are treated to an update of this beloved and mysterious character's whereabouts. She runs a very delightful-looking bar on number 10 Forward Street. Guinan quickly cuts through Jean-Luc's shields and gets to the heart of the matter, and the two friends gather over a drink. She tells him, the only thing you ever put out there to break were your bones, and the only thing you ever risked losing was your life. There are worse things than being dead, she reminds him, and then challenges him further and states that the only place he is afraid to explore is inside his heart, and Jean-Luc seems to consider this. Yeah, this is a pretty big scene, their reunion. There's a slide missing, I realize. I had a fun slide of the two of them standing next to each other, but you guys have all seen that publicity slide where they have, where they're at the bar and she's kind of like hugging him or standing in front of him there. It's really cool to see these two together. I really love this scene. I thought it was great that Guinan's still kicking around. I find it surprising that she's on Earth. I always imagined Guinan having like a roving bar, or like, being on a space station somewhere, like maybe even DS9, like taking over for Quark's bar. But it's not so bad. I like that she's got her 10 Forward bar in LA as well. It's cool.
I really loved seeing Guinan again, and I love the fact that Picard remarked when he saw Guinan for the first time in years, supposedly, that she's an alien. And he asked her, "Why did you change your appearance?" And she said something to the effect of, "Well, I thought about I thought it would be wise to sort of go with everybody else and and sort of like match up to the age that I would be if I was human." So I really like that explanation as to why Whoopi Goldberg looks the way she does today, as opposed to how she looked back in the days of the Next Generation. And I also loved her speech about how they've been through multiple universes together, how they've gone through multiple situations together. But the one thing that they've really never talked about is Picard's unwillingness to open up his heart to romantic prospects. So again, I think that this is eventually going to play a big part in this season, and if not in this season, it's going to play a big part in season 3, at least I think. And I think that Picard is going to find some form of a relationship in the final 2 seasons of this show.
Do you think that they would? Maybe this would be a bit, I don't know, maybe a bit CW. But do you think they would have Picard come back from this nightmare? Let's just say he has some personal stuff that he goes through with romance and Laris while he's in the past, rekindling his thoughts, and then let's just say once he fixes the future, he comes back. Do you think he might, this might be, since that's the only scene we really, see with him, with a character on Earth, and then he was basically in the past for the rest of the season, we're guessing. Do you think they might be leading into the fact that this experience in the past is going to, and Q might change his mind about romance, as well as some other things, and maybe he comes back and says to Laris, okay, and gives that kiss towards the end, and they could even play that as a love triangle if Beverly showed up and Laris and Picard.
Yeah, what if That's how season 2 ends, with like Loris and Picard like kissing each other, right? And then like Beverly like shows up, and then that's the end. That's the end of season 2.
Dang, you guys. I like that.
I'm a romantic at heart, so I have a romantic streak in me and a mile long, and I wouldn't mind if it got a little CW and you had some shit like that implanted in the season at some point. So I wouldn't mind at all, but I would understand if true Star Trek fans would be a little bit, or some Star Trek fans would be possibly bothered by that. I would understand that.
To me, I think that the Laris thing might be a little bit of a, I don't know. We'll see. I'm wondering if the Laris thing is just like a device to distract us, but I do think the overall theme, as Jill said in the chat, is kind of expressed perhaps in this scene in the 10 forward bar, where basically Picard has no problem like going out and saving, the galaxy, or like, being brave, or, he's not even afraid to put his life on the line. But when it comes to like exploring what makes him tick, why he's never been in a relationship, why he chooses duty over his personal happiness every time, like that exploration of the heart, and how Soji said that too, how it has to, sincerity comes from the heart, like sort of, I think that's what we're gonna get, is him opening up about this part of his past, and it's gonna be like a dark past is what it looks like, and I guess healing from that. Are you laughing at something in the
I was
chat?
just laughing at the comments. Yeah.
What was the comment?
Jesse is here. And
oh,
everyone's
Jesse's
like,
here.
oh, they were talking about you a second ago.
Nice.
Jesse, we were recommending some of your content. So
it's true. We were
we were having a conversation with characters that are Neuro Atypical, and we said that you had done some videos on that subject, and recommended people check those out.
That's funny. Sorry, I didn't get ahead in the chat, so I was like, why is Fathery laughing? What am I saying that's like so funny? I thought you were laughing at me. Jesse, thanks you so much for stopping by. It's good to see you. We gotta talk. I haven't talked to you in a long time. We'll see you in Chicago though, which will be really cool.
Oh yeah, so that'll be fun.
Yeah. I don't know how we're gonna have to do like a gigantic group picture of everyone from Twitter and online. Like, it's gonna be pretty rad. But anyways, any other thoughts on the Guinan scene, guys? The scene in 10 forward?
I think that I have a feeling that Guinan, we'll see more of Guinan, maybe one more scene. Because, and this is basically just because I want it, and because someone posted an image on Twitter of Guinan in the bar, but she had a different hat on. And maybe they were still sorting out stuff like that, but it would be interesting if Picard came back and after he'd fixed the problem in the past, and then he kind of catches up with Guinan, because Guinan has that history with him, yesterday's Enterprise, or maybe we'll see Guinan experience some of this horrendous future. Who knows?
Very nice. Yeah, I think there's going to be definitely more to play. A lot of folks are hoping that there's a Guinan Q standoff at some point, right? Like, yeah, exactly. Like, I think she does like this kind of finger thing or whatever. But yeah, so who knows? We might see that, or we may
There's
not.
also season 3, so
and there is season 3.
They might be holding back on that.
We know that John
they've already
Delancey
shot most of season 3.
I'm
Patty Stu said they only have 2 episodes left to shoot.
Oh, okay.
We did that Ready Room
Did you just
interview.
call him Patty Stew? That's a nice nickname for Patrick Stewart. I like that, Patty Stew. Guinan says, I think there is one final frontier yet to come. The friends toast and laugh, and Jean-Luc and we're left to wonder, will he explore love with Laris? However, once again, he is tempted by a mystery and duty, and leaves to investigate the purpose of the anomaly, which we discover is not only broadcasting a distress call, but also requesting membership in the Federation. And here's the Admiral giving him his.
She's
his
that
badge.
transporter chief that was on Next
That's
Generation.
right. The actor played a transporter chief before. I looked up the Admiral's name earlier, and I forgot it already. But she plays a different character. It's the same actor, but a different character.
Okay.
apparently. But it would have been cool if the transporter chief became an admiral.
It'd be a hell of a career jump.
Yeah, it
but,
would be a career.
I mean,
a huge career
hey,
jump, it's true.
hey,
The
remember
Dominion War could
Ensign
have created
Gomez?
lots of heroes. Yeah, it's true.
At this point in Starfleet, Ensign Gomez has been a captain.
Oh, that's
for,
right.
Almost 20 years.
There you go. And yet, we assume Harry Kim is still an ensign.
I don't assume that. He's a captain. We're gonna see Captain Kim at some point. I just saw Garrett Wong on the Star Trek cruise, by the way. He's
right on.
He's really funny in real life. They should have gave Harry more comedy on Voyager.
I wrote this portion for Marcelo specifically, which is on Stargazer. The admiral is greeted to pomp and circumstance, and as he walks up the bridge, up to the bridge with Seven, we see she is uncomfortable with the way she is perceived and with the Federation, Starfleet, and Starfleet's use of Borg technology. I got a message from the text message audience a little earlier, which is, why in the heck would Starfleet even put Borg technology in their ships in the
Voyager
first place?
did that all the time, man. That was a Voyager thing.
Yeah, I figured there was a good reason, and I think it's like they're probably not putting, or at least they don't think they're putting anything detrimental on the ship. Like they're
They're probably like, man, like B'Elanna Torres figured out how to do this.
Yeah, and they're like, this like insulation works better.
She had this figured out way back in the 70s, in the 2370s. So
and the Borg like regeneration healing technology would be good for ships, right? Like Federation ships.
The
like
Delta Flyer was built out of Borg
technology, yeah. But they never exploited it before, right?
Yeah. I just want to say, like, when I realized that the Stargazer had Borg technology in it, I just said to myself, God damn it, will they never learn? This is exactly why shit like what is going to happen to them later on, we'll get to that, happens. But I just want to say that.
We get a much better look at the Stargazer bridge when Jean-Luc comes aboard. At this point, I was like so in love. I was like crying. Let's make not crying like, but like crying out like, let's make a Stargazer show. Like I was all in. Like I was so in love with the ship and the bridge and like just the aesthetic and like seeing Rios as a captain. Like he's pretty awesome. Like I actually could see like if we had started a show with the Stargazer, I think it would have been a really cool concept as well. I know I'm always asking for spin-offs for those ships and stuff like that. But what do you all think of this whole sequence? Finally realizing the ship in the beginning is the Stargazer also, that, so we know what's coming, which is kind of cool. It's like a very like, there's been 48 hours. They flash back in the beginning of the episode from the destruction 48 hours back. And now we've been building back to this moment and we all know it's coming. And I love the way the intensity kind of like starts to build as the episode goes along.
From a story structure perspective, I really like those stories that are told from back to front. And I love the way that you mentioned it earlier. I love the way that there's a ticking clock on this episode. And when we finally get to where this episode began, I think it really, really ramps up. But you mentioned that when we got on the Stargazer and we've had everybody together, and you mentioned that, every time you see a new ship, you just want a new TV series. And I thought that if they do a Stargazer TV series, that would be a way to use some of the ancillary characters that we see in Picard and continue their story. Like that's the way that we could get more of Rios, Raffi, Eleanor, Girardi, and Soji. Like just take them and port them over to the Stargazer series. If I don't know.
I mean, who knows? There could be a lot. When Picard ends, we'll find out what's left for the 25th century.
I would love to see more 25th century
stuff. Yeah,
and these sets that they're building here do look awful nice. So it'd be a shame to let them go to waste. But I don't know if there's going to be room for that. We're getting the Academy show in Section 31 and.
Is this set a redress of anything? Is that Enterprise that they redressed?
No.
It's a brand new set. They built this.
Yeah, this.
On the Ready Room, Jean-Luc was saying. Yeah, that's right. Not Jean-Luc. Patty Stew.
That all the Strange New World assets are all in Toronto.
Oh, right on. So these are in LA. That's right.
Yeah.
And he was talking about something on Ready Room, like he wishes people could like walk onto the set, which someone was speculating that's probably more than a wish. It's probably like there's probably going to be some kind of Star Trek experience coming soon, with a bridge. Who knows? Like maybe it could be this bridge.
Well, I really regret that they didn't do that with the Deep Space Nine promenade, because that was such a
Oh, yeah, you're
huge,
right.
gigantic set that would have been really cool if people were able to go tour.
Oh,
But
yeah, that would have been so cool to walk in. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but that would have
yeah,
been
they
so
they
cool
can
to
do that
walk-
in Toronto too. They could do tours of the Discovery and Enterprise sets in Toronto if they
I
wanted.
mean, yeah, I mean, I would personally love to go on a tour and walk on the bridge of the Discovery and sit in that chair, man. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
want
that'd
to,
be pretty
and I want to be on this bridge. I actually, if I had the means to, I would purchase a warehouse and build this bridge on a gimbal and just hang out there with all my friends and do Zoom calls and simulations. Like that's all I would do.
And I'm on the bridge of a starship right now.
Yeah, that's true. You actually are. Um, so, anyways, when Picard hails the anomaly responding to the distress signal, it comes.
This bridge is too big, by the way. It's like when Rios is in the captain's chair. Look how far away that ops dude is from him. It's like you have to yell at the top of your lungs, like "Scan the
that's why-
anomaly."
That's why they didn't hear him when he was like, "Stop firing," I guess. After deliberate, responding to distress signal, it comes alive, and from it emerges a massive and new Borg ship. After deliberating over how to respond to their request for entry into
There's
the
the
Federation,
Excelsior.
yeah, there's the Excelsior Federation, and as the fleet arrives to support them, things escalate quickly as the Borg insist on sending their queen to Stargazer. So here's a picture of the Borg ship. This is awesome.
That's a really cool design. It looks very Borg, but very different.
Yeah, and also very like some folks were saying there was a few cues to Star Trek the Motion Picture. This reminds me of V'ger in some ways, like the massiveness of it and how it opens, and like like there's openings and things like that, and parts of it that transform and stuff like that. So yeah, I really love this design. It's very cool. I thought it was very evocative. So that out there could be the very point at which history turns, is what Picard says. He doesn't know what the right decision is, and his council are giving him two compelling viewpoints. Seven insisting on extreme caution, in fact, maybe even a preemptive strike, like Burnham was suggesting during the Klingon encounter. Jurati focused on the opportunity for an allyship with the Borg, saying they could possibly be the greatest ally that the Federation has ever had. So anyways, the Queen, a menacing and fierce version we've not seen before, with what appears to be armor, beams aboard and quickly subdues the Stargazer's security forces and is bent on assimilating the entire fleet for purposes we do not know. We wish for peace, but first we require power. The chaotic and intense action to stop the Queen ends with the Queen nearly assimilating the Stargazer and fleet. You're out of time. You're out of time, she says coldly, leaving Picard with no choice but to destroy the ship and the fleet. And just before the destruction, the Queen tells Picard his mother's words of comfort: "Look up." Then, echoing Star Trek First Contact shot, we emerge from Jean-Luc's eyes. But this time we see he is in a familiar but somehow unfamiliar surrounding, as he's back in the chateau and notices things are not quite right. Is it a dream or perhaps a nightmare? As he gathers the clues marking the changes and contemplating their meanings, such as a portrait of him in an unfamiliar uniform, his home being different, a synthetic life form. 1 second, sorry, hold on. Take over, Father, just talk about the scene.
But yes, we have Picard wake up, and he's in a, no pun intended, strange new world, and
Yes.
looking at instead of the monster maroon, what are people calling this? The monster. I've heard it have a different name.
The Velvet
monster
Maroon?
black. Should we just call it the monster black?
or something like that. Yeah. So anyways, he sees himself in an unfamiliar uniform, his home being different, a synthetic life form on staff instead of Laris. Overwhelmed. Harvey, yeah. Overwhelmed, he breaks down and asks what the hell is happening here, to which he hears an all too familiar voice entreating him. with an excellent question, Mon Capitan. How I've missed you. It is Q. Do you recall what I said to you when we last parted ways? The trial never ends. You've been talking a lot about second chances. Well, my friend, welcome to the very end of the road not taken. That's it.
Bum, bum, bum. I loved that reaction of Picard to hearing John Delancey's voice for the first time in 30 years. He immediately knew who it was and was just like, oh my God, I do not want to deal. I'm dealing with the Borg. I'm dealing with whatever the hell just happened. And now, of all the times after 30 years, this asshole is back. And just his anger, his God damn it, Q. I loved that.
Yeah, it was super great. What did you guys think?
I really, really loved, like Father just said, I adored John Luke's reaction where he just said, "God damn it, Q, what have you done?" So I just love that. I initially thought when when the new Stargazer blew up, I initially thought that John Luke waking up was John Luke before the simp ban, but as the scene goes on and when we see the painting, I put together, okay, this can't be before the simp ban because John Luke wouldn't have a painting like that. And I was like, no, that's not possible. But I do believe that now he's in the alternate, he's in another, a universe or another timeline at this point. I don't know how we got there. I don't if it's Q that put him there. But yeah, that's where I believe he is.
We'll find out next week. I'm so excited about episode 2. We already know what happens, but I'm more excited about your reactions to episode 2. Robbie, any other thoughts on the finale? I have a couple of questions before we do go, but any other thoughts on that whole action sequence and stuff like that?
Well, I was kind of intrigued, and I don't know if it's just a callback to season 1, but I thought it was kind of it seemed a bit of a coincidence that Seven was saying, oh, we've just installed some Borg, stuff into the ship, and then the Borg suddenly arrived. But maybe that's just a callback to season 1 when they were working with Borg, and they maybe harvested some of the technology. I think that I don't feel I can say what I'm about to say just because I feel like I might spoil something just because just seeing the trailers a couple of times and sneak peeks, I have a speculation which could be completely wrong, but the more I think of it, the more it could be right. I think I loved seeing Q back, but I was kind of disheartened because my mum was like, "Oh God, it's him," because she watched TNG through with me, and Q was the worst part, or one of the worst characters.
She didn't like Q.
She didn't like Q at all in any of his appearances. She thought he was annoying, and I said,
He
"This
is,
is going to
he's
be a
an
different
MP.
Q." But no, she still said that, and yeah.
That scene on the bridge at the end where everything's going down and the Borg Queen says you're out of time. I think Cake is Eternal is asking when the self-destruct sequence was counting down. We hear music. Does everyone else hear that or just Picard? I would say unclear, but I'm going to guess that as the Borg Queen was taking over the systems, that like for some reason that just randomly played, like it could be that, and then it's just a coincidence, or that has a bit of a Q flare, and maybe it's hinting at Q being behind something that would change, that because what happens from what it looks like happens is the Stargazer blows up, the whole fleet blows up, everyone dies, but then now Jean-Luc with his same consciousness wakes up somewhere completely different that he doesn't know, like a different reality maybe. So it's possible that Q had something to do with bringing him into it, but I don't know. That's all I'll say. Like we don't know.
I thought it was self-destruct music.
That'd be funny if that's like every captain can pick a song, or an admiral. I did like that he uses 000 destruct 0, but he says Picard 000 destruct
I
0.
didn't like that. I was like, does
You
everyone
wanted
have
him to
that
have his
same
own code.
Like,
He
that's
he
really
should have
weird.
had Picard 6577167755321. You don't remember whatever
Or,
that was.
Well, he never would have got that. That
I know.
would have taken it. That was what the code
Or
was.
the too long.
It takes 10 seconds for him to say his
But
destruct code.
is it interesting that normally it takes at least 2 Starfleet officers, or sometimes 3, to start self-destruct? Like is there in truth, or not? Is there in truth? Let that be your last battlefield. It took Spock, Scotty, and Kirk. In Star Trek 3, it took Kirk, Scotty, and Chekhov, and then in the
I saw-
010110 whatever episode of Next Generation, it took Picard and Riker, and then in First Contact, it was Picard, Worf, and
This seemed like
Crusher.
he says, if I'm not mistaken, he says computer activate emergency auto destruct sequence. So I think like when there's like
I think
no
it's
time.
always an emergency.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
think
true,
it might
but
just be because if you're an admiral, you can blow up a ship by yourself.
by
maybe.
yourself. Yeah, that's
Which
true.
might
That's a good
be a dangerous thing, given some of the Starfleet admirals we've seen throughout Star Trek history. You know, Marcellus talking about like they don't respect Picard. Like, have you seen admirals in Star Trek? Like, maybe people don't want to respect them. Maybe there's an admiral stigma. I'm kidding, of course, but
That might be a thing.
there is
But
some-
yeah, go ahead, Marcel.
There is some. I'm sorry. There is something I want to point out. All throughout this episode, not throughout. You kept mentioning that it's the Borg Queen that came aboard the Stargazer. I don't think that's the Borg Queen. I think it's an emissary of the Borg Queen.
It's after watching it like 19 times, it's pretty clear. Are you laughing because I watched it 19 times? Is that is there okay, Trekkie laughing at that, or is there something?
I mean,
After
look,
watching
I
it
mean,
like
look.
19 times, I think it's safe to say it's the Borg Queen. And then Dave Blass in a little interview with Larry Nemechek says it's the Borg
It's the-
Queen
okay,
also.
okay.
So yeah. I
Okay,
think
so-
I think it's.
but I like
pretty
that she
safe
looks
to
so
say.
different. I like that the Borg should be constantly changing.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Borg and Picard should look different from the Borg that we saw recently in well, not recently, it was decades ago, but what we saw in Voyager the last time they showed up.
Right.
Wow, Robbie, we're cracking you up. I want to show one little image compilation that I made that illustrates something interesting. I don't know if this is on purpose or if I'm just seeing things, but do y'all see this here? This is young Jean-Luc. Poor Robbie. He's like, he even said in the private
Robbie
chat, I
has
don't know.
has the
He's got the
chuckles.
giggles. Yeah. We now I have them. Jesus Christ. Jiminy Cricket. So here we have young Picard and then a silhouette that looks very similar to this silhouette over here of the Borg Queen. And then we have Picard framed on the opposite side here in that picture. And then I love how like and I'll have to go close up for this. Hold on, let me see if I can do this for you guys. I love how if you look carefully at the Borg Queen and what she's wearing, it's very similar to the silhouette of what Yvette Picard seems to be wearing as well. Like you notice there's like a draping, sort of like a cape and stuff like that. So again, not sure if it means anything or it's just me seeing things, but like there's just something going on visually
So
there.
you
that's
think the
pretty
Queen is
interesting.
his mom? Or
I don't think that she's his mom.
the
I think
Borg
that
the Borg have created this Queen to look like Locutus's mom.
either
reach out
that
to
or they're using like they're using his memories to strike fear and control him, basically, which is something I think the Borg would do. So they've
Kind of like a
fashioned.
poem where every stanza rhymes with the previous stanza.
Are you trying to get me to say a tone poem, Father? Like, is that like what you're trying to get me to admit here? But anyways,
I just need to remind people that Star Trek is a lot better than Star Wars.
Star Wars.
And Star
Indeed it
Wars is terrible half the time.
See, people were also saying on Twitter that at least someone said on Twitter, I caught, the similarity between, or at least just said, could the Borg Queen be Yvette? And I don't know how that would work, but it would be very interesting. Or tied to his past in some way. I just think this is a fantastic storytelling idea to bring back Q and to bring back the Borg, but different, because the Borg seemingly want to join the Federation. I think the execution has been great because I was sick of the Borg, and they come back seemingly threatening, but also wanting peace. And we have all these ties to the past, and it feels like this season is already in gears and has a planned trajectory that I'm just really along for. And I just feel like this is going to be a very character-driven season. Even with in the trailer, we see not Jerry Ryan, Seven of Nine and Raffi in the car together in the past, and since they've kind of moved apart, maybe they're going to get back together throughout the season or something. But there's just so much to explore.
Right on, Robbie. One more little coincidence that I noticed, you guys, which is when the Borg Queen, both in the beginning sequence and later on, says, Jean-Luc, and he turns around. At the moment he turns around and the Queen comes into focus, the countdown is at 7. So there's a lot of 7 of 9 is the Borg Queen speculators out there, and so that might be a coincidence, or also
But
might be a
I think
clue.
there obviously is meant to be a connection to his mom with they both tell him look up or whatever.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's there on purpose.
I think that would be interesting. Imagine seven of 9 had to go into the past because she knows what happens with the Borg. Like she saw what happened with the Borg Queen, and maybe she's the Borg Queen, and this is somehow why she's trying to be peaceful. There's some reason she has to, and that's why she has the mask on, and that's why because she knows that the Borg Queen is going to be there in the future or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just spitting out nonsense.
No, I think that's great speculating, but we're only one episode in, so we're about to find out. Let's see if any of these theories are gonna come true. But I love that's part of the fun of Star Trek for me, is like trying to figure out the mystery, and I don't like it when it's like a hit you over the head mystery, and it doesn't seem to be that way so far. I mean, we're only one episode in, but we'll see.
Now, can they follow up on this? That is the question. Because I remain to be convinced. As much as I enjoy this first episode, and I enjoyed Picard season 1, but I still kind of feel like the finale was the weakest part of it. Surprisingly, like I found I was much more okay with it when we've recently rewatched it. So hell, but in general, I think that just because of Discovery more than anything else, I think that they're pretty good at like starting off these exciting, enticing stories, but are having a hard time sticking the landing. It reminds me a lot of when I used to watch the TV show Smallville. As a big Superman fan, Smallville would always have like these really incredible season premieres. It would always get me hyped and excited for the show, and they pretty much every year, at least every year after season 3 or 4, they just completely let me down in the season finale.
Yeah, well, not to go too much far away from this, but the season finale of season 1 of Smallville, when Lana gets Lana gets tossed up in the tornado, that had me on the floor. I was begging for more, but that's just me.
Those first few seasons were a lot better at that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, all the pieces are set on the board. The chess game, the 3D chess game with the Borg has begun, and with Q.
Yeah. You got an impressive start, Terry. You know, he comes out of the gate strong. Impressive stride. Let's see if he stumbles or if he can maintain this. He's still got to do the alt timeline. He's still got to do the 2024. So, and then he's got to wrap it all up at the very end. So we will see. And we'll let you know what we think.
Do you guys have anything you want to promote to our audience before we sign out? We'll start with you, Marcelo.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff, guys. I have 2 podcasts, 2 YouTube channels, and I'm often around these parts. So if you guys want to see everything I do, the best place for you to find links to all my stuff is on my Twitter profile. I'm at CreekFanatic88.
Excellent. Robbie, what's going on over in your neck of the woods? You just dropped a video, a very cool one.
Yeah, I dropped a video on why I think Pulaski is an interesting character, as much as I love Beverly. And then it's okay to laugh.
That's all
I'm
right.
laughing the whole
I
stream.
love that you have the giggles. It's fine. You can laugh all you want. It's a good show to laugh on.
Next week I've got a video on why Jellicoe is a good captain. I'm not trying to zone in. Not trying to zone in on all the controversial characters. And then
That's good territory. That's how you get the clicks.
and then one more. Why Galdacat is misunderstood.
Oh no! Don't do that one, Robbie. Trust us. Stay away from Galdacat.
I'm sorry.
The last one is a joke.
We know.
Okay, sorry, Robbie.
That's really funny.
There'd be some good clickbait too.
So yeah, everyone go check out Earl Grey Trekkie's channel and subscribe and like and share. Father, you're back from the Star Trek cruise. I was privileged.
I can
to
still
run
feel the
Text
rock
Trek.
boat, the rock
boat
boat. I
rocking.
can still feel the boat rocking. But yeah, I need to do a stream to debrief everyone on that. I don't know when's a good day to. I was thinking Saturday in the afternoon, but I probably need a little bit more time. I don't know if I can do it like tomorrow evening, maybe Tuesday evening. I don't know if
whenever it is,
Starfleet Boy would be available to question me on it.
I would love to do that again. That was so much fun. We did that for Las Vegas.
Yeah. Are you free Tuesday evening?
I think I could be. Yes, we'll talk
Okay.
offline, but I'm
Okay.
pretty sure
Well,
I could do
just
it. Yeah.
keep your ears open and your eyes peeled, and we'll let you know on that probably very soon. But you should follow me on Twitter at TXTrek, and then you'll know everything.
Absolutely.
Or at least everything you need to know. You won't be like omnipotent like Q, but you'll know everything I have to tell you about Star Trek. I'm not really an expert on much else, but
You can also go on Twitter and check out Father gave a bunch of updates on Twitter, and there were a few videos that came in from the actual cruise on YouTube.
yeah, I was able to transmit a few through the horrific subspace interference that we encounter when we're out at sea. But I was able to get some stuff across, and of course you can check out Text Trek as a live show every Friday night at 7 p.m. Central, where we discuss the latest episodes of Star Trek. Where a lot of times we'll discuss old episodes of Star Trek when we have time, and you can listen to that show as a podcast wherever you get your podcast.
Right on. So moving forward on Starfleet Boy, we'll still give closing statements, but ratings are still welcome, but no longer required. So I'm going to start by not giving a rating for this episode. I think we're going to break the Starfleet Boy mold for all the newer newer episodes of Star Trek, and follow suit with some of the other channels which don't, like Father, who doesn't do ratings. It's like, how do you encapsulate a whole discussion in just one rating? So yeah, I agree with that. But if any of you all want to give this a rating, you're welcome to.
You can go first, Robbie.
I'd give it 365 Alpha Tangos. As Picard's
good.
auto-destruct sequence in First Contact.
I like how Joel's like, what Starfleet Boy is really saying is it's an 11. That's really funny. Kind of, sort of, yes. And Marcelo, you were going to say something too?
Yeah, I was really, really pleased and really nervous going into this episode because I had so much faith in Terry Metalis after speaking to him for a little bit, reading some of his scripts online and watching his old show 12 Monkeys, and he did not disappoint me. At least he did not disappoint me with this episode. I love the dialogue. I love the change in tone. I love the other things as well that I will not mention again or I'll be shot. So yeah, this episode was so much joy for me from a fan aspect. So with that being said, I'll give this episode a 9.
Nice. Excellent. Wow. All right, folks. Live long and prosper.
Wait, you didn't ask me if I wanted to rate it?
Oh, yeah. Do you want to rate it, Father?
No.
Excellent. Audience, thank you so much. What a lively chat. I'm sorry again, as always, we couldn't get to all your comments, but it was such a fun chat, and we appreciate you all joining us. I hope you guys like the slightly different format with the pre-written kind of summary. I don't know if you guys enjoyed it in the panel, but you can let me know offline. Don't tell me on the air. Live long and prosper, and we will see you guys next time.